That's too good of an introduction. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so normally I talk about stuff that most people later on tell me, that sounded really smart, but I have no idea what you're talking about. So this is something completely different. So that show came out in 1997. It began in 1995. And it's pretty much the crudest, this part is not very crude, but some of it is really crude. And it's a really good encapsulation of how people that grew up in the last 17 seasons of South Park think about banks. They actually think about a lot of different things, and I'll cover that in a little bit, but I'll focus on banking as it is projected through the attitude of the modern American, which also happens to be the largest generation in American history. These are the people that are going to be coming into the consumer, financial, every imaginable market right about now. So 71% of them would rather go to a dentist than listen to what the banks have to say. 53 don't think their bank offers anything, and you can read, so I'll stop saying this, but it's pretty damning. Basically, these kids, and I can kind of say this because I missed the generation by 5 years, they pretty much hate the banks their parents used to go to. They're just about to choose a bank for themselves, but they know that ain't going to be the one that their mom and dad were a customer of, because you saw it and it's gone. This is obviously directly related to a 2008 financial collapse. That episode came out in 2009. So millennials are actually fairly optimistic by nature. It's a generation that seems to be very cynical about banks. You saw all those crazy stats. They really don't believe that their banks have their best interest in mind. But they also think that it's going to change. So you can see these stats. The third is kind of anarcho-communists because they think they don't need a bank at all. But the most potent stat of them all, 63% of American millennials do not have a major credit card. That's something to sort of reflect on for a couple of seconds. It's a huge deal. Up until about 21, 22, you're never buying anything that you couldn't fit into your cash flow or choose a cheaper option. Once you're buying a mattress, you're basically financing it either with a credit card or you're sleeping on the floor. And this whole generation is unprepared to have a mattress. They'd rather sleep on the floor. What's with the crazy kids? This is, did they just make this up? Like, why are they so hateful towards these banks? They're going to have to buy a mattress or a house or a car. All kinds of stuff is going to have to be purchased. They're going to have to finance it somehow. So this works only half the time, guys. So millennials are a very, very different kind of a consumer. Their attitudes really differ from Gen X, which is my generation, and baby boomers and the ones before it, for a couple of different reasons. The biggest one is that they are the most connected generation of them all. They grew up with social media being such a part of their everyday life. The opinions are formed by kind of a debate and consensus. They go from, hey, I think this sucks, to, hey, everyone who follows me on Twitter says it sucks, to, this has to be destroyed. And these things are very, very rapid. The opinions are formed, they're confirmed, and they feed on themselves. It's pretty fascinating stuff. The other thing is that, as it relates to finance, consumer finance anyway, they got to see the 2008 financial collapse during the most emotionally vulnerable time. They were either teenagers or just about to enter school. They were still with their parents. They got to see their parents have their credit cards decline, their mortgages rewritten or tossed. They got to see people declare bankruptcy, do short sales. And they got to witness a lot of misdeeds by the financial institutions that were deemed too big to fail, and then bailed out by the government, and then announced on a front page of Wall Street Journal, still collecting giant bonuses. It's a cynical generation that expects their banks to be undone. This is probably the best way to sort of quantify it. There's this great thing called the Millennial Disruption Index. It measured what millennials believe to be changing for the better by way of being disrupted, which is a very fancy term that just means someone's going to come along and build a better product. And they pretty much believe everything is going to change. But banking is by far the one that they think is just going to go down and get rebuilt from the ground up. And there's another reason for it, and this is also from the front of newspapers. After 2008, 2009 financial collapse, the news and the social media were filled to the brim with stories of financial misdeeds. Things that caused the 2008 financial collapse always feature a financial institution that somehow managed to survive and then got indicted, the government doling out punishment but not letting these companies go out of business. Millennials are not exactly thrilled about the free market operation of the financial infrastructure. They're also very technologically savvy. And so when they go and look for a job right after graduating college, this is my favorite screenshot of them all. This is a real-life, live careers page on a page of American Express. Probably the best surviving brand. This is the bank that didn't get maligned in the press. They generally did okay. They're not listed as countrywide or one of these true scandals. They're hiring right now an exciting opportunity in COBOL, except 70% of computer science departments worldwide do not even teach COBOL. The top 10 computer science departments do not offer COBOL pretty much in any form. So I guarantee you, people going straight out of school to work for Amex to write some awesome COBOL code are not from the top 10 computer science departments. So basically, we're going to hire dummies, not really, but not the creme de la creme. The creme de la creme is going to go disrupt COBOL. And since I'm doling out punishment here myself, I'm going to beat up on myself a little while as well. So that's PayPal, which I had a little bit to do with. See the little rounded part, it says CGI bin. CGI bin stands for Common Gateway Interface. That was the original way to make web executable. Up until a certain point, you couldn't write code that actually would make real-time websites. With CGI bin introduced in 1994, standardized in 1997, the year I graduated college. I left school going, CGI bin is how you make websites. 1999 is when we started PayPal, or late 98. I used CGI bin because that's what I went to school with. This is from yesterday. They're still using it. It's obsolete. It's been obsolete for about a decade. So in the millennial mind, too big to innovate actually is the projection of too big to fail. They should fail, and someone's going to blow them up. It creates opportunity. So what does the bank for the millennial look like? What is this product that these people are actually going to respond to and not be cynical about and adopt and sort of take as their own? So here's one imaginary product. So cash management done right. And when you get a direct deposit into your bank, it should just say, hey, we're going to invest this for you. Like, no one needs to log into their bank account to move a little money into an investment account, save or invest or whatever. It's pretty damn obvious, but yet, it's not done. Here's another one. Millennials are really good at reading Twitter. They get to find out that Target or in any one of the most recent security breaches just impacted 76 million credit cards. What they really need to know is your card, which is always a public list, hasn't been ripped off. So these are pretty obvious features that your traditional financial institution should be able to just put together in a couple of heartbeats, but it's never happened. But actually, everything I just said about these financial products is bogus. The way to go disrupt financial system at the very core is you have to go after credit. Credit is the heart of what banking is. That's how money gets created, literally. Banks lend out money, and that's how it is manufactured. And financing, which is probably the single most important thing, it's the way to invest in your better self. You borrow money to go to school because in a couple of years' time, you'll be able to pay it back with interest because you'll get a better job as a college-educated adult. You'll borrow money to buy a mattress because it's going to give you better quality of life and you'll be able to attract a mate or have enough comfort to relax and be a more productive worker. Lending should be at the very center of a young person's financial design for themselves, and this is what it looks like to them. This is a back of a bank statement, I think, from Citi, and it is unreadable. I once spent 6 hours on a flight from San Francisco to New York trying to figure out exactly how APR works. Most people in this room, well, in America it works better because the acronym's the same. APR is an acronym, stands for annual percentage rate. Vast majority of people at any party, great party trick, you ask them what APR stands for, they won't know what it is at all. If you ask them how to calculate it, even if they know what it is, they won't know. They'll say, oh, I'm sure it's on the web. If you search on the web, it's a handwritten page. Literally, someone wrote it out because you can't write a closed form solution for it. So I encourage you to look for it. It's pretty amazing stuff. It's a .gov website. So how do you do financing right? Like, what would credit offered to a consumer look in a way that doesn't suck. Here's what I think it should look like. If you're approved for $1,000, you can decide your terms. When it ends, you're done, and the cost of money is spelled out clearly. And you decide, yep, these terms seem fair to me, that's the cost. And you're done, as opposed to it's gone as the per previous segment. So can this be actually done? Of course it can be. That's what I've been working on for the last 4 years. So this video doesn't have sound, allowing me to bore you with my voice instead of a funny one. But watch carefully because it goes really fast. So this lady's buying a mattress. She decides to continue. Monthly payments are an option. It is powered by Affirm on our partner site Casper, based in New York City. It's a mattress company literally made in America. She confirms her security PIN. We establish a closed loop to identify her. And there she is. She's approved simply by giving us her phone number and allowing us to guess a couple of pieces of information. That was about 20 seconds to borrow money, exactly the same way you would for a credit card, except to quote a person who was surveyed, or a couple of people who surveyed, there's no card lurking in your wallet trying to screw you. This is a loan that begins and ends, the short, close-term loan. This is what I have been spending most of my time for the last 4 years, trying to build an honest financing option for online retail. We're now live with about 100 vendors, growing very, very quickly, tens of thousands of loans. It's really taken off in the last year or so. It's pretty great stuff, and I feel very excited about it. So we call it adaptive banking built on trust and data, but you saw what that looks like right now. What it really means, though, and this is a little bit more detail, it's actually the way to do lending, the way to do credit well, is to price risk in real time. So we don't just ask you for your phone number and a couple of other pieces of data top of mind. When we don't know how to offer you a loan, we don't offer you a higher rate. We ask you for more information. It seems like a foreign concept in today's bank, but we'll ask you to log into LinkedIn so we can assess your career. We ask you to provide us your bank credentials so we can understand your cash flow in real time and offer you a better rate. And in some cases, we'll ask you for your GitHub login because we can see if you're an active contributor to an open source project. Actually gives us a pretty good sense of who you are and what you do for a living. So it's pretty fun stuff. We do a lot of anti-fraud stuff. My background, obviously, from PayPal is tracking fraud, trying to combat bad guys trying to steal money. It's a gratuitous shot of a large fraud network we detected and stopped. The reason this is here is because we're not just talking about lending, we're actually lending our own money. This project is not yet a proper bank, but it is firmly on its way there. We take full risk, we make the merchant whole, and the consumer, if we lend to you and you screw us and run away with our money, it's on us. We made a mistake. So we try to be very good at not making mistakes. To do this, we have all kinds of really exciting sounding buzzwords with machine learning and network fraud detection, which I won't bore you with, but that's where data comes in. I believe very firmly that you can build the bank of the future with data, because surely today all the data processed by real banks is done by COBOL on DB2 and System 360, which came out before I was born. And I was born a while ago. So what does it mean? So what is the business here? You make more loans, you make some mistakes, you capture more data, you understand what it is that you knew and didn't know about the kind of person you're dealing with. You get better at underwriting. As you get better at underwriting, you lose more money to people where you made a mistake. You offer better rates. The goal is to drive the rates as low as possible. The way you become competitive as a lender, you offer the best deal in town. The way to become successful as a bank, you create trust. You ultimately build a brand. The aspirational brand for me, despite my incessant making fun of them, is in fact American Express. Except a black card, which my parents' generation thought was the ultimate symbol of cool, is the ultimate symbol of tool with the millennial demographic. And I believe that the opportunity exists to create a brand that is the trusted, honest, transparent financial institution for the 21-year-old, 22-year-old, et cetera. So what's next? Obviously, lending at the point of sale is kind of cool, but you got to expand if you want to be a real bank. We just launched student loans, which to me is probably the single most important type of loan you can take. So if you're a geography major in America, probably a geography major anywhere, when you graduate college with a high learning and an advanced degree in your favorite science and absolutely no job prospects, you're very quickly going to start looking around for a place to improve your hireability and your positive cash flows. So what you do is you take one of these classes that in 16 weeks will turn you into a JavaScript programmer. It's called NEST, New Economy Skill Training, except it's not federally accredited and is not eligible for federal financial aid under most circumstances. Somebody has to help you finance that education. This is where we come in. If you're a geography major ready to learn how to be a productive member of the Knowledge Society, time to borrow money from Affirm. We'll let you take your time. You can finish your classes, get a job, and then start paying off your loan, which has proven to be extraordinarily popular with a whole bunch of people with majors other than geography. So where does this go, ultimately? Sometime before the end of this year, we'll launch a few more products. Ultimately, I don't believe the credit card is the tool for the 21st century young professional worker. They don't trust it, they don't like it, it's designed to screw you, it has the small print, it's going to get disrupted, and that's what I'm really working on. There are many, many, many more ways to take data, behavior, knowledge, information, everything that comes along by the switch from analog to digital, and build something that's going to be amazing, trusted, well-liked, and ultimately survives the next macroeconomic shakeup like 2008. So that's what I've been busy. As I said, normally I don't spend too much time beating my chest about my personal projects, but this has gone from a sideline thing to a big thing to a main thing to now my full-time job. So I'm proud to tell you about it, and thank you.